Hello everyone, Ekon here from the Foundation server, coming back to you with another showcase, this time on the Legionary with Fight for Supremacy 2.0. So yes, everyone holding their breath, you do have a chance to accumulate more blueprints, 80 blueprints to get the Legionary. And here I'm going to show you a little bit on the background, where this all came from, and just a bit of a refresher, because we did start with Surge back in March, which was followed by Act of War, and then Fight for Supremacy, which basically let you build this ship, the Legionary. Now, Fight for Supremacy, here it is. It was basically a range of events that let you kill separatists or bosses or other ships from enemy faction to be able to accumulate blueprints. So you've got the Mayflower for the Federation, which is not too bad, Explorer class. You've got the Legionary for the Romulan, if you've gone to Romulan faction, and of course the D3 for the Klingon Empire. So let's go through the event. Basically, you're going to have a range of events. They're back to back, and you can accumulate these blueprints so that you can actually build it yourself. Of course, you can purchase it outright as well. Packs are back. But ultimately, you can keep fighting for supremacy there, keep accumulating the points. I think there's a range of events. I can't actually remember all of them, but I believe that there's some alliance-based ones as well as others. Now, you do have the 3 systems of Federation, choice of Federation, or Klingon if you're Romulan. Obviously, always the opposing 2 factions. And you can fight the Klingons there, and you get some points. You can fight the Federation there, and you can get even more points if you fight the Federation. Obviously, being Romulan, the Federation is more hated than the Klingons, as we all know, and we all know that based on how many points you get when you fight hostiles and whatnot. But just to take you through briefly, and a brief refresher, Federation does beat Klingon, Klingon does beat Romulan, Romulan beats Federation. We know this fairly well based on just all the mechanics in the game that showcase this. But if you really want to know a little bit more in depth about it, you can see that any tier or any class ship that you see. So you've got Klingon here. It's the rare class is an Explorer. Obviously, what beats an Explorer, and you've got the rare class as a battleship, and that's the Federation. So Federation beats Klingon. But of course, if you go then to the Romulan, you've got the Interceptor, which beats the battleship. So at any point in time in any particular class, you've got the same triangle that you have as for Federation. The ships are geared in the same way that they are for the battleship beats Explorer beats Interceptor, and so on and so forth. But moving right along, here are 3 systems for the Federation. This footage was provided by Amergan, which is, so great thanks to Amergan. Really appreciate it. We are in the same alliance now, so it's great to see 2 people from the Foundation server representing. And I'm kind of racing through this, of course. I'm sure you realize I'm talking faster because there's just so much ground to cover. So in the level 25, you've got the Elite Federation ships. So depending on really what ships you have accumulated, what level you are, you can see Amergan here is level 27, and we're basically looking at different strengths of ship, and obviously the boss separatist ships are the 2.2 million plus, which are extremely difficult, and usually you have to go out in raids, and I'll get into that later and how other alliances have achieved this. But you can see there, a lot of enterprises roaming around the NCC 1701, 2.3 million. Funny enough, there's some ships that are 1 million and I can't quite kill off, and I've got some stronger ships than the ones you see here, but unfortunately or fortunately, I suppose, the bosses here don't actually seem to have anyone stationed as their captains. I'm guessing because we can kill them off much easier than a lot of other ships. So I don't know what the dynamic is here or what mechanic is behind it. Thankfully, Amergan has actually recorded what happens here when you hit one of these bosses, just to have a look at the battle log and just see, the hull there, 3.3 million, and shield is 200,000. It's ridiculously crazy strong. So you can see the damage it's doing, though, is very, very minor. I mean, we're talking critical of 2,492. And here's 16,000. That isn't one round though. Like it seems like round 3 is the big round, but that's nothing compared to some of the other ships where we can easily do 100 or 200 or up to 800,000 in damage. So again, we're going to see a range of events for this, and you're going to just need to really focus on hitting those opposing factions, the ones that give you the most points. So back to me, I am Federation based, so I obviously hit the the Separatists, the boss Separatists, and I try to kill them off. That's the most amount of points, and it's more worth it, especially with the new Tritanium repair. And this is how I do it. I basically send 2 ships and I attack. Now, of course, we've got a range of people. Everyone does their own thing, so I don't know what ships you might have, but you definitely want to go for the higher ships and send 1, 2, or 3 ships, or even go out in a group hunting and do a bit of a round robin. So here you can see the ROG and ROGS alliance. Now, at some point we kind of called them Alphabet because they just had ROG, ROGS, ROG-Z, everything. And but kudos to them. They're going out in force and in a hunting party. Let me speed through this, but they're effectively all hitting the WAD boss so that they can kill him off and get the points, or for each person to rather get the most amount of points. But, I question whether this is a valid or a valuable way of doing it. Most of their ships died there, and these are the only ones left here going after that boss Separatist. So it's really up to you to decide, and your alliance, obviously, on how seriously you want to take this and how many resources you want to spend on it. But I think ultimately getting your faction ship or your entry-level faction ship is really worth it. And let me take you through why you should get the Mayflower D3 or Legionary in this case. Now, a lot of people will be building this around the level 25s, right? So early 20s, 25s, you're building the Vahklas. Vahklas, I can never say it right, but this is the ship that you're building and you're thinking, I'm going to put all my resources into it and it's going to go a fair good chunk of the way. But that could not be further from the truth. The truth is that the entry-level faction ship can go a whole lot further. So this is a max tier Vahklas, which would have cost me a bundle, but this is a mid-tier Legionary, which is already at 585, and if you consider 30% additional bonus, that is a long way. How do they stand against each other? Your early mid-20s for a faction ship versus the max tier of a Vahklas, which you would have to invest a lot of Tritanium and resources into. Well, I'm going to load up the best crew that I've got, or at least some of the best crew that I've got, onto the Vahklas. It might not be Explorer specific or anything, but that's besides the point. The idea is that I want to go and face off against that 585k that you saw before, which of course we all know won't stand a chance, but you know what, let's have a look anyway. So I've met up with Dark Aston, who's come out, and he's basically helping me up in making this video. Absolutely, thank you so much for this. There is something a little bit weird, because I noticed that the Augur and the Legionary look almost identical. I think they actually are identical. So Dark Aston's come out and hit me with the Augur, which is the epic ship, of course. I don't know if you know, but this is the epic ship of the Romulans. And I think it's pretty funny for this video. It's a pretty good laugh as well. I mean, he did come out afterwards and say, whoops, that was a mistake. But you know what? I think it's good value for the video, and it kind of worked out all right. There it is, crap ship. No, but thanks so much for creating these videos. Let's do a rematch. Let's see how it holds up anyway. And here we go again. So you know what? There it is again, the Vahklas and the Legionary this time. We both know how this is going to turn out, but it's just a good idea, a good concept in terms of what you can achieve with the Legionary versus what you're going to be able to achieve with the Vahklas. And I would argue that that Legionary can go a lot further into late game, so you could keep going with it, and if you have the right quadrants like we said before, and you know how to make your hits and you know when to use it, it can definitely be a good ship for you to keep on file. It should definitely be there. Now there's nothing specifically wowing about the weapon system. Again, it is the entry level, but it's still pretty strong for an entry level ship. I mean, you could be building this in your early 20s. It's incredibly amazing. So, 29,000 damage versus my 28,000 damage. So similar damage. I've got 2 guns. He's got 3, one that fires every 3 rounds. I'll take you through that in a little bit. I know this is it might be a little bit boring, but I think it's important for people to realize how this is all working. And of course, each gun fires, and on each round it's supposed to. And then you can see there, so I fire, he fires. We've got mitigation from crew and everything else. It's all the usual stuff in terms of all the maths and how everything activates. But in any case, let's move on. So we'll have a look a little bit on how the guns and the power and metrics of the ship stand out. So we've got your Legionary here, and you can see that the Federation killer is actually a 30% boost to killing any Federation ships. Now that is pretty powerful when you consider where the ship starts and where it can get to without too many resources in terms of tritanium. So, you know, some of these packs right now will give you 30 million tritanium. That's quite a lot in terms of how far it'll get your ship. So you can see here that I've got, 3,000 3.3k rather max damage, 150% chance. And if we have a look at the weapons, it's charge time and recharge time 1-1-1-1. That's exactly what you want to see, at least in 2 of the weapons. So the third one here, MK2, which I'm pretty sure is kinetic, max damage is much higher, probably double. But you can also see that if you scroll down here, excuse me, we've got critical damage is a little bit less than usual. It's usually 150 and the chance is usually much higher. But the charge time and the recharge time is 3-3. That means it needs until round 3 to actually get a shot off there. When you combine that with how much tritanium, though, it's actually kind of worth it, I think, because if you think about the fact that, you know, I'm just having a look here, so 8 and 4 and 4, and yeah, so it's about 2 to 2.5 million in tritanium. That does sound like quite a bit, to maybe 2.5 to 3 rather, in terms of the total amount to tier it up once. So you know what, let me go through this and let me just tier up once and just see how we go and see what the maximum damage is going to be. And after that, I'm going to take you through, someone who sent me photos, Dark Aston. So much thanks to Dark Aston for sending me photos of what it looks like, screenshots of what it looks like at a much higher tier ship. So I think he's at tier 6. We'll have a look soon enough anyway, and we can run through how this ship compares to some of the other heavy hitters, especially when you think of, ooh, I want a rare, I want an epic. No, you don't. They cost a lot to upgrade and they cost a lot to maintain, and we can see uncommon ships can kick their ass sideways, so you really don't necessarily want the big ones. It's kind of a nice to have if you just happen to have it, or you're kind of as it comes along just organically, that'll be nice, but you don't really want to go, right, that I'm going to focus all my efforts and save up everything for them. So you can see again the 30% boost to Federation, so 230 there. Obviously that'll be something around the 300 mark. So if you consider that when you're fighting, say, a Saladin or something else that is Federation, of course, when you're fighting and battling, you need to know which ship you're going to send out to hit another or retreat if it's not. But you can see here the critical hit chance is, it's pretty much the same. It always is on upgrades, but the damage is, in this it is much higher. It's 3,000 higher. The critical hit chance here is still a bit lower. Charge times, everything, usually they stay the same. I'm always watching out for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, 1.7 million here, where the second tier is probably going to cost about 7 million to upgrade. So you've got, let's just say, round it off to 3 for the first and 7 for the second. So that's 10 million to upgrade for tier 2. Of course, if you keep going on this path, you will eventually get to a ship that is much stronger than you think. And what I mean by that is, it's let's have a look at Dark Aston's, which is there it is, 585. If you do consider the Federation killer with 30% boost, we're talking about something that's almost 700, 715, something like that off the top of my head. Which makes it just a ridiculously strong ship, and if you put the right captains and the right people on there, then it'll be even better. You can see Dark Aston there is reducing wartime repairs, reducing repair time, but that barely makes a dent in some of these other ships. So it is absolutely worth it, I believe so, especially if you do plan on taking it all the way to the higher tiers. It will really become effective. So having a look at some battle logs, you can see here that, that Romulan patrol that we were fighting earlier, we're doing in one round, and I'd love to scroll through this, but this is what I got anyway. So we've done 60k damage, well, actually it's closer to 68, for 67, 68, and we're really not receiving much damage from the others, so we're mitigating a lot of damage, which is pretty good as well. So definitely worth it. Now, in terms of what firepower we can expect at later stages, we've got the 7k guns instead of the initial 3.3 that we started with, 3,300. You can see that this is shaping up to be maybe 30,000 as well. So not too bad. It's actually gearing up pretty well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do leave some comments, subscribe, and do stay tuned for the USS Enterprise video, which I actually just got it's basically building right now in my shipyard. So stay tuned, and of course, leave me any comments or, you know, get in touch if you want to have a chat about anything that is STFC.